All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another another episode of Safe Thursday. So, some of you might have already joined an episode of Safe Thursday earlier. We were, not very last 1 or 2 months. I think we were not very regular about conducting these events. But yeah, we are excited to have another event of Safe Thursday. Right. A quick history of Safe Thursday. We are a group of SAFE program consultants and professional Scrum trainers who we came together, and then we created a platform called Agilemania for ourselves in 2017 to discuss about Agile, to discuss about SAFE, to help people in their Agile adoption, SAFE implementation, and Scrum adoption. Right. In 2019, we felt the need to focus on more on business agility, and probably SAFE is the only framework which talks about business agility, and we started focusing more and more on SAFE in 2019. Right. And SAFE Thursday was started in May 2020 with the support from Scaled Agile itself. The intent was to create a safe environment for discussing everything and anything about SAFE. Right. And where do we stand today? We held about 30 events so far, and most of the formats are webinars, workshops, and experience sharing for people who are joining Safe Thursday for the first time. And we have more than 1,000 members from across the world and growing. And launched our own website, safethursday.com. It's for some of you who have not visited, please do visit safethursday.com and be part of the community. You can also be a contributor. You can also be a speaker if you are interested. Right. So please do visit and then drop us a note there. And in 2022, we have the format of having two events every month, first and third Thursday. This is an irony that we are having the Safe Thursday on a Saturday, but we thought that a lot of people are available on Saturday, so we thought of having this event today. And we have a lot of expert talks like Ask an SPCT. We have a lot of workshops, lean coffee. Right? And also, as I mentioned, it could be a great platform for blogging. Right? If you're interested, drop us a note, and then if you want to be an active participation and want your blogs to be published, we can provide the platform. Right? And yeah, that's what we need the support from the community. It is our way of giving back to the community. So let's all be part of it. And today's event, Ashwini Kalkura doesn't need an intro in the safe world in India, at least, right? And across the globe also, he has been conducting a lot of classes. In fact, Ashwini is my safe trainer when I got introduced to the world of safe. Uh, he is an SPCT, as an agile coach, well-known name in the safe world. So today's webinar is about safe core values and then how it is being used in PI planning. So I'll not steal the thunder. I'll have Ashwini explain about today's event. Okay. So, and before I hand it over to Ashwini, so please do visit safethursday.com and drop us a note if you want to be part of the community. So with this, over to Ashwini. Hey, Ashwini. So thank you for agreeing to have this event. And Ashwini has always been part of Safe Thursday. In fact, he was part of Agilemania before, but then later worked for Cyberpunk. And then again, he is part of Agilemania now. So over to you, Ashwini.
Yeah. Thanks, Sajid. I think, as some of you might know, I switched to Agilemania, and we are a gold partner now. So that made perfect sense for me to back to home, right? So to say, yeah. Without further ado, let me just talk about few things. Again, I want to keep it simple. I think most of you are familiar with what is safe or scaled agile. Um, and some of you also have indicated that you have a safe certification. I think around 40 to 50% of you have indicated that you have a safe certification. You don't need an introduction to the core values in SAFe, which are four of them, which you see in your screen that I've shared, right? So, but what I thought is, while we understand what is a core value, again, forget about SAFe also, right? So, in a generic term, also we understand what is a core value. As humans, we also say we have a core value, right? So, integrity is my core value, honesty is my core value, so on and so forth. And jokingly in my interviews, I also ask people, what are the core values of your company, right? So we all usually have it while entering our office in the lobby on the back wall, but not many of us read that one. Yeah. But at the same time, it is also true that if you are an employee in an organization for a year or so, you would have been part of some of the all hands meet, and mostly the leaders will talk about, okay, these are the core values that our company has, and this is how we make decisions, right? So core values help you to, okay, if you're not talking, please be on mute. Yeah. Um, the core values help you to any person or an organization. It is not to say that some core values are good or some core values are bad. There is nothing like it, right? So it's only that when you have those core values, you align with that one, abide by that one to make certain decisions. When you have choices to make, when you have two or three options to take, right? So you always look at the core values and say, okay, our company believes in quality, right? So even if it is little late, you're going to tell the customer upfront that we will be late because of the quality issues, and we will never kind of cut down on the quality aspect, maybe, right? So that way we go ahead with that. Again, this has also been one of my favorite topics in terms of because SAFe in their website calls out core values are something on which we make our decisions, and also fundamentally effectiveness of SAFe comes out because of these four core values, right? We typically call it as say BPAT. I'll start drawing a little bit. Yeah. We typically call it as BPAT, just to remember it easily, right? So BPAT is built-in quality, program execution, then alignment and transparency, right? So uh, if BPAT is your core value, how are we going to use it? And where do you use it? If you closely look at any of the course materials, any of the course content, or even if you browse through the Scaled Agile Framework website, core values are used everywhere, either as a standalone or as a combination. The core values are used all along as well. But what was interesting for me was when I started looking at, okay, PI planning. As most of you know, it's a release planning equivalent in SAFe, right? PI planning or the program increment planning. If that is called as a heartbeat of an agile release train or your program, so to say, because Dean Leffingwell, who is the creator of SAFe, also tells that there is no magic in SAFe, maybe except for PA planning. Right? So that's the only magic. If you want to choose one magic ingredient in SAFe, that's the PA planning. That's the core of uh, all of us coming together, planning together, and trying to see what we can accomplish in the next, typically a quarter, right? So 8 to 12 weeks is the recommended duration, as we know. So just to get into the topic, my thought always has been, how can I look at PA planning utilizing these core values? Is there a combination? Is there a pattern that I can demarcate? What I'm going to talk about today is my biased opinion, right? So you are not going to tell anywhere that Ashwini told this is the core value we used at this point in time. Not really, right? So the core values work in tandem. It's not that you will use only one core value as per your convenience. Not really, right? I'm going to give a little bit of a biased opinion from myself. How PA planning is, as an event, we kind of take a part of it using the core values. Yeah. And even before launching into the core values and how do we use those core values at what part of the PA planning, let me give a 1 or 2 line summary of each of the core values. The first one that I will take up is the alignment, right? When we talk about alignment, maybe I can look at that as something of this, right? So this is how I would draw the alignment, right? What is this? Everybody in the organization has the common understanding about the goal they want to reach, right? So end of the day, what's a goal that we want to reach is a common understanding, right? So that's the alignment part. Simply put, again, you can read more about alignment on the SAFE website. That's always there. But this is what I would say as alignment. The second one is built-in quality. Again, I don't have a symbol for built-in quality, but this goes back to Deming's work in 1950s and 60s. Like this is a around 50 to 60 years or even more older concept. What he said is, you can't really inspect for quality in a product. You can't build the product and inspect for quality. It's a disaster, right? You can't really get the quality just by inspecting it. You have to build in the quality, right? So you only when you build in the quality, you would do the right things. Yeah. Then the third part comes the transparency. Again, most agile frameworks, I mean, talk about it. I'm not going to beat around. Idea is to make sure that our processes, what we do on a day-to-day basis, our operations, everything is transparent enough. Transparency is not about everybody talking everything. Rather, it's about the right kind of an information being available for everybody who needs it as and when they need it, right? So we have that transparency in mind. Yeah. The last but not the least, which becomes very, very important in terms of working in scale, is what we call as a program execution. Yeah. Again, why program execution? If you look at Scrum or I mean Kanban or any agile methodology which talks about the team level, we always talk about it's not an individual, it's collection of individuals coming together and working together to create something useful and productive. When we talk about SAFE, we are talking about not just individuals, we are talking about team of teams. Minimum construct that we are talking about is a team of teams. So everybody working together becomes a priority, right? So keeping our individual egos and biases aside, even our maybe the team biases aside, we have to work for a bigger common goal. That's where the program execution part comes in. So this is where I would say the four core values kind of help you to um, see things in a right perspective throughout everything and anything that we do in SAFE. I mean, it could be about planning, it could be about execution, it could be about releasing to the customer, it could be about thinking about innovation, it could be about IP or the innovation and planning sprint. I mean, why do we do it? So on and so forth. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you might want to put it in the chat. Some of us will, Satyajit and others will again kind of moderate that one. I should also have a good enough time at the end of the session as well to address some of the queries, I mean, which are relevant to this session. But you can always connect to me and Agilemania on LinkedIn. We will post the links in the chat in a while, right? So we are always there. I mean, if there are any questions that are unanswered, or if you want to continue the conversations anytime, you are welcome to do that. Yeah. Again, I'm telling the things that we usually tell at the end in the beginning itself, so that I mean we have the end in mind. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the PA planning itself. And what does the agenda look like and why the agenda is like this, right? So um, expectations from this session, I'm not going to beat around too much on why PA planning and what is PA planning and what do we do in PA planning. That's not the intention. But we will talk about how do we use those core values in the PA planning. Yeah. Again, as I said, this is my biased opinion. I'm going to put this opinion in front of you. Yeah. So the agenda is 2 days typically. Again, the number of the timing that is given, like 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock or whatever it is, it's not a hard and fast rule that, I mean, you have to adhere to those timelines, but rather it's a generic guideline that you might require this much of amount of a time in a 2-day PA planning, right? Because if you are putting 50 to 120 people in a room, you want the days to be productive. You want the time boxing. Like even in Scrum, we have a time boxing for every event, right? So any methodology, any agile methodology will try to time box things, saying that this is what we want to get out of a session or the event that we are trying to complete it. Yeah, I will look at it this way. So the day one typically starts with a context, lot of context. And also if you see specifically in the slide here, you see that the first half a day almost, which is 1/4 of the time, right? 1/4 of the time is spent on context setting and some practices and vision and the roadmap. So I kind of call it out as alignment, right? I call it out as alignment. This is where you are trying to create an alignment within the organization when you are working together. Um, Again, many organizations do it differently. I have also seen in my consulting assignments, I mean, being done differently. While business context is an hour, product vision is 1.5 hour, architecture vision is 1 hour, and so on and so forth. You might need that much time, or over a period of time, you would also send out these documents to everyone so that it's more a question and answer a session and a discussion rather than just a one-way communication, right? And as a advisor, as a consultant, I always view this as not a one-way dialogue where somebody comes on the stage and they have a 10-pager, 20-pager deck they run through. Rather, it's about what's the context that we are operating, right? So when we talk about a business context, somebody hire a person in the organization, a leader comes and talks about why this train is important for us and what are we trying to accomplish. Yeah. Product vision is typically by the product manager or your solution managers. Again, here the idea is to talk about what is the overall vision that we have and what's a roadmap that we want to maybe trying to go through so that we can reach it, right? So vision without a roadmap just becomes a vision. It's like saying I want to go to Chennai or I want to go to say Singapore, right? So it's a vision that you have maybe, right? Or a mission that you have. But unless you have kind of started looking at the visas, the tickets, the hotel booking and stuff, and also started working backwards on, say, if I want to go to I'm just calling out Singapore, I don't know why. I want to go to Singapore in 2 months. I'll have to maybe, I mean, start working backwards on what are the things that I need to do maybe 1 month down the line, what are the things that I need to do 1 week down the line, and what are the things that I need to do today, right? So we start thinking about that. And typically our roadmaps are pretty much elaborate for maybe few weeks or a month, right? Or so. Yeah. And we also have something, I mean, which is flexible over a period of time. Idea is the product managers are going to talk about what is our overall goal that we all know, and at the same time how are we going to achieve that goal, right? So what are the adjustments, what are the way forward that we have on that journey. And the next part, again, architecture vision. I don't think as some architect will come on the stage and talk about what are the development practices. Not really. It's about they have been working with the team to find out what commonly works across the teams, and they've been already been doing that one. And architecture vision is a placeholder for the architects to talk about what are the common practices, what are the common tools, what are the common maybe architecture patterns that we are going to utilize, and why it is important from a business perspective as well. Again, don't look at architecture vision as only a technical documentation or a jargon fest, but rather it's about why architecture is important from a business perspective as well. Yeah. And after that, there is a planning context where RTE, who is the facilitator for this particular topic or the event, they call out, okay, what is going to be there for the next 1.5 days. Again, 2 days is a suggestion from Safe. I've more and more seeing the organization going for a 3 day or a 4 half day kind of an agenda, which kind of works very pretty well when you have a geographically distributed team members. All right. So, any thoughts about alignment or any questions for alignment? Maybe I can take one or two questions and then move forward.
Hey,
Silence.
hey
Yeah,
Ashwini.
yeah,
Okay. Can you hear me?
yeah, yep.
Yeah, hi,
Loud
this
and
is
clear.
Nitin here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see as you said, right, the product vision usually is not so clear. So I witnessed this a couple of times that sometimes they skip this and
Mm,
also these architecture vision and development practices, these are also kind of skipped.
mm,
So one of the anti patterns which I see,
mm,
right? So it's basically these architectures don't collaborate. I mean, architects basically sometimes they don't collaborate. So I think this whatever you explained is a very core or like the
yep.
base part, and has a big impact. Like if the team is not well prepared for this PI planning
Mm,
itself, the preps made for PI planning itself, it goes
mm.
haywire, right? So the 2 days of effort is totally wasted. That's what I saw the
Sure.
anti pattern from one
Yeah,
of my
yeah.
experience. Yeah.
True. Again, that's where I mean I also placed alignment at the top, right? So unless you have the alignment, right? So anything else that you do is wastage of time for everyone, right? I mean, it's like having a
Yeah.
beautiful plan
Mm,
and having the best in class software engineers, but they both don't think in the same direction, right? So one party wants X and another party wants to build Y, right? So, or like businesses is about ROIs and money and profit
mm, mm.
and stuff, and the technology becomes more about we want to work on the coolest and the latest and the zazziest of the tools, right?
Yes, yes. So one question I would ask is, what do you recommend for this prep? So prep of the
Hmm.
PI planning. Uh, do you recommend? I'm sure that there's no specific thing mentioned, right? So what do you recommend as the prep for
See,
this?
for me, the PM, the architecture, business owners are a unit, right? So one unit. And
Hmm.
the moment the PA planning is over, they should start looking at, I mean, how do we conduct the next PA planning and what are the things for the next PA planning? The next 2 weeks, 2 months or 3 months for them is mostly about how do we conduct the next PA planning. It should be the case. And this is where the RT comes in as a someone who is a superhero or a super again hero as in not as
Yeah.
a gender
Yes.
one, right? So guy or a lady, right? So they have to be pretty strong, right? So they are the ones who are going to start focusing on what should be coming next and how do we kind of carry that forward, be it prioritization workshops, be it feature socializations, be it about backlog refinements, be it about system demos. They have to be an active facilitator and a participant to push things forward. Again, I'm using the word push in a positive sense, not as in push is bad or anything,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Again, RT plays a very, very important and a key role, right? So holding everyone accountable and making things transparent.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashwini, for that answer.
Hey, Ashwini, Amarkant here.
Yeah,
I have a question.
sure.
So, you said that we are like the team and the other people for another 2 months when the PI planning is done,
Hmm.
they would be uh, planning on what? Maybe the objectives that they want to pick up in the next quarter, or the objectives based mostly for the projects.
Again, I would not call it as an objective because in SAFE, I mean, objectives are written once. I mean, you decide what are the set of features that you can deliver in the next increment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that we had. Okay, this is what is planned now, committed by the teams. But we also had few things that are coming up to us, and how do we elaborate that one? Start elaborating. I would not say if there is, say, a 3 months, all the 3 months they are doing it. Maybe the first 1 month, they will mostly focus on the current operations, right? But as and when we start hitting the next PI timeline, they would start elaborating some of the features that are coming in. Maybe, I mean, architects will start talking about the enablers. And this also will be fed to the teams through the product owners, right? And teams also might have a question back to the architects or the product managers on some of the features that are coming up, right? So again, what I intend to say is this preparation should be something, I mean, which is a constant one. It is not about suddenly, okay, we have a PA planning next week and we will do it now, right? Rather, planning should be more important than just the plan, right? That's the intention when I say your product managers, business owners, and architects should start focusing on what the future holds for
Okay.
us.
Okay. So very like I will say a stupid question.
Yeah.
If I have to put it in a very lame way, what goes in PI planning and what comes out of it?
So PA planning will have your vision and the set of prioritized features, right? And what comes out of it is the features that the team believes they can deliver predictably,
Okay.
right? And they would mostly kind of commit to the PA objectives or the objectives, business objectives. Like even in Scrum, we commit to the sprint goals, right? I mean, we don't commit to the stories because stories might change.
Yeah.
Typically, the simplest example that I give is the feature that you think about is credit card integration. But the objective is to make sure that the people can pay easily, right?
Okay.
Right? So maybe today you are envisioned credit card, but in a market like India, you might go ahead with maybe the cash on delivery, right? So you would change the stories, you would change the features, but your objectives are always kind of common and kept in mind.
So by the end of PI planning, is it like team will be aware or everyone how many sprint of work is required to accomplish something?
Again,
Can that be a true question?
yeah, see, timeline is fixed, but they will be aware of how much we can take it up, right?
Can do.
And
Okay.
how to
Yeah.
complete.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Ashwini. Suman here. One question here for are the only these four items belong? I mean, they can be called as alignment or the remaining, items also, because I could see that okay, even if you are going for the management review or risk planning or let's say replanning, redraft or something, because it's something which is all about bringing everybody to the kind of alignment, right?
Yes, yes. Again, as I said, I mean, core values are used everywhere, but this is my biased opinion on how can I see it in
Okay.
chunk, right?
Okay.
And that's where I would put the next core value, right? The built-in quality into this bracket. Again, you can refute me saying that the built-in quality is also everywhere, but at the same time, how I would look at it is once this context is sent, the teams will start on their breakout. They will do the draft plan, right? When they're doing the draft plan, all they look at it is not just how I will deliver, but rather, yeah. So they will not just look at, I mean, how I'm going to deliver my work or how my team is going to deliver the work, but they will look across the multiple teams. Again, you can also call it out as an alignment across the teams or program execution because everybody works together. But for me, it is mostly about how do we predictably deliver with the highest quality that is intended and on time, right? So try to look at from multiple aspects, from a process perspective, from a progress perspective, from a overall product perspective. How can we build something right, and how can we build the right thing? How can we build the right thing? How can we build it right as well, right? So when the teams break out, when the teams are making the plans, they are mostly looking at the built-in quality aspect as a primary goal to achieve the overall the objectives that they want to call it out. Again, as I said, you can also look at the alignment factors here because because multiple teams work together. You can also look at the transparency because everybody works together. You can also look at the program execution because you're not thinking about as one team or one individual. Rather, I mean, it's all also about everybody working together for the agreed upon quality, right? Again, built-in quality doesn't mean always the highest quality. It means that you are agreeing upon to certain levels of quality and going ahead with that one.
Thanks.
Any thoughts on built-in quality? And this is where I think mostly teams will also start discussing with their architect on the technical part of it as well as and when required, right? So how are we integrating, which are the teams which need to work together, and so on and so forth. Any thoughts on the built-in quality part?
Yeah, I mean, one of the aspects which we apply, the built-in quality is not only about implementing and delivering values in terms of also the quality of features or the PO is also bringing into onto the table of the product management basically. But yeah, built-in quality is something which can be defined in terms of a stringent and high quality DoD also, where the team can look upon what are the DoDs or parameters we are defining for delivering the value. Okay, and that sort of things. Yeah.
The built-in quality also, I think, includes the acceptance criteria.
True. It includes your, mostly here at the feature level acceptance criteria. Story level, you may or may not have all the acceptance criteria ready, which will be part of your team level planning later, right? Yes, and also remember, there are typically even here, there are two levels of DoDs. One is at the team level, you will have a definition of done. Another one is at a program level or at the Agile release train level. You will have a definition of done for the, again, mostly the features that you have completed, right? And many a times, this is something we all see when there is a pressure on delivery, pressure on anything, right? The first casualty is the quality, right? So quality takes the first hit and you skip on the quality part, right? So you try to deliver faster, you try to deliver more, you try to deliver within the budget and so on and so forth. But it's mostly about the quality that takes the first hit. You want to avoid that one.
Also, Ashwini, one thing like we have seen, when you started this transformation into skilled agile, right? I think many teams find, like, okay, anyways, if you are not maintaining the quality, we have an IP sprint later at a point of time. Okay. We can go and use it, but that's the wrong notion, anti-pattern, I would say. So that is what we could change it, and then people can, because IP sprint itself stands for innovation and planning, right? So
true. And in fact, if you look at closely, right, the innovation and planning sprint, 3 days are already gone, right? 2.5 days for PA planning and then half a day for inspecting it up. You only have like 7 days or so left in. You would have also scheduled few trainings, learning opportunities, and so on and so forth. And also it's an opportunity for you to work with your product owners and the product managers for completing the backlog items, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So procrastination is something we all do. We can do it later, right? So we always think about, we can do it later. Again, how not to do it is something, we need to think about when we talk about built-in quality. Technical debt part also comes in there. It's not just about the work items that you are planning. You will also plan for any refactoring effort, any maintenance activities, any defect fixing, or anything that you have with the other teams, right? So you might have to work with the other teams for certain things. You will all work for that.
So you mean to say that the DevOps practice is also included in the built-in quality here?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's not something separate.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the second day. Here is where the first half of the day is where I see it as a transparency. Again, teams again are going to do the breakout. You can call it as quality defined well, right? So it's again a expansion or the next step of the quality as well. At the same time, I mean, teams are getting aligned and they are working together as a program execution. But I see this one as a transparency because in the second breakout is where your business owners are finally coming with the team, and the team and the business discusses what are the objectives. Are they both aligned on those objectives? But idea is here is where the team and the business both starts talking about what am I trying to deliver and what is the intention from the business perspective, right? So there is a transparency bought in from both the sides. Again, business might be wrong in some cases, technology team might be wrong in some cases. It's pretty okay, right? So we both are going to discuss together what is it that I'm trying to deliver, how is it going to help you, and business is going to talk about in terms of why did I ask for this particular feature or an objective, and how is it going to help the organization or help this train or help your own purpose motive, so to say, right? So end of the day, what we are talking about is the transparency that is built across the teams that we want to achieve. Again, looks easy on the paper, so to say, right? Many a times, I mean, this is where the egos will clash and each one will have their own perspectives. Each one will have their own biases. Business will have their own biases. They wanted everything yesterday. It's already late. For the teams, it's about, I mean, we don't have the proper tools. I mean, we don't have the proper environments and so on and so forth. So this is where, I mean, you would see the high voltage talks kind of happening, but that is okay because as we know, conflicts are good for a product development, right? So again, conflicts, as long as they don't become personal, those conflicts are good for the execution of the overall program. Again, my biased opinion, I see the transparency coming into the fore where we will have open debates, we will have discussions to look at, and then we will see what are the things that we need to do. Somebody is drawing on the board. Okay.
Again, Ashwini, we could find that the SOS during the team breakouts. I think that used to help a lot. Actually, I think I would say that being that helps the different teams to any dependencies resolution, or maybe if we have dependency, especially on other portfolios, let's say, or maybe for example, the teams which are not part of our portfolio, basically, right? So there we actually we have seen that challenges basically. If all the teams belong to the same agile stream, they are the mapping the dependencies, cracking it's pretty much easy compared to if we are trying to you know uh, trying to draw some dependency on external teams which are not part of the art, especially directly. So we have to, so there I think we could see that lot of this alignment, and maybe I'm not sure that the amount of transparency goes into that, but yeah, we have a lot of times we spend sometimes actually those kind of dependencies.
Again, that's where it becomes very, very important to identify the stakeholders. I mean, they could be, I mean, from shared services, or I mean, they could be from other part of the organization. Think about, I mean, if you have compliances to take care, compliance might be a horizontal team running across the organization. You need to have somebody from compliance present in the planning so that you have the right clarity on what you are trying to achieve and how that team is going to help you, right?
And Ashwini, what do you recommend here? Basically, what do you see, like, for example, if we are co-creating some of the applications with the suppliers or vendors, basically, maybe the best example could be the platform, actually, right? On top of which we are trying to build all the application and try to deploy there, actually, right? So there could be a tussle among, because that could be a political lens also, right? So they want to prioritize their things, and they do not want to take our, items which are on priority into their backlog, basically. So, yeah. And even though you invite them to the PI planning meeting, sometimes we have seen that okay, they do not come with a lot of they do not participate in a lot of proactiveness basically, right? So because they are from a different portfolio altogether.
Yeah.
Right. So
one thing that has worked for me is invite their bosses, both the bosses, right? Also, they're also part of the mix. And if there is something really political, again, I'm not taking the politics as a negative thing, right? So there, I mean, the leaders are there to discuss together and see, I mean, what's the right thing to do, right? So because they definitely will have a vision, they will know the roadmap, and they will also maybe look more from a organization lens rather than just my team lens, right? Having them, having them at least towards the end, I mean, when the final plans are being reviewed, definitely helps. And involve them as business owners, not just as a participant. Involve them as a business owner who has a say in it and who has skin in the game.
Yeah. Because sometimes they also will be in a dilemma, okay, because we have also a PI planning meeting coming up next, for example. Okay, we have a lot of prioritized item which our business required basically for us to deliver. So especially we are not sure whether
and maybe as an RT or a facilitator or as an SPCM, and you might ask a question on how does it make a business sense, right? Rather than asking, okay, we have priority, we have more work, what makes a business sense for us, right? So somebody has to put a business case.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Planned rework here is if there is no confidence or no commitment from the teams, if even one person in the entire train says, I don't think this plan is viable, right? So we do ask them what is their, what is the contention they have or what's the risk they're calling out, and plan for rework. Okay. And I think, I mean, the metrics part, one is the right to reach a common understanding about the most relevant metric. There is no one answer, right? Start with what the metric page on SAFe says, pick up some of the things which are really relevant for you, but you have to evolve over a period of time, because otherwise, I mean, everything becomes a vanity metric, right? If you look at it, number of feature always increases. We deliver 10 feature, we deliver 8 more, we deliver 6 more, number of feature always increases. I mean, that becomes a vanity metric. If you look at the number of percentage automation, it always increases, right? Mostly. But are we getting the right value out of it? Maybe we can actually have a metrics as a separate SAFe Thursday topic itself as well. I see a lot of interest on that one. Because SAFe talks about the flow metrics, I mean, talks about the outcome-based metrics, not the output-based metrics. We can actually talk about a metric as a next topic itself sometime.
So in terms of metric, we have seen those 4 buckets, right, Ashwini? Like, for example, the quality, right, the time to market, right, the employee engagement, basically, and also we have this other one, the 4 verticals actually, where we want to segregate between them, and also we have something called this, let's say, the service layer agreement. It's SLA is 100% with respect to the portfolio metrics actually, right? So we have to have like something like this net promoter score basically, right? So what is the employees? I mean, what is the customer satisfaction actually? How many things we are building with respect to giving them in a win-win situation basically.
Yeah.
The pirate metrics, pirate metrics here actually we have.
So again, think about from a flow perspective, think about from a competency and the outcome perspective. Again, SAFe website gives you a lot of literature around here, but I would be cautious not to include everything, but rather start with something and go ahead with what actually makes sense. And also, my suggestion always is don't look at the metrics as a siloed numbers, right? So the automation plus the defect reduction plus maybe the customer score, and you have to club them and see it in a one set rather than seeing automation as a separate thing, NPS as a separate thing, and defect reduction or priorities of defects as a separate thing, right?
Just curious to know, Ashwini, here one point, like we have this matrix, right? Something like the business value and the actual value, basically. Okay, so for example, what happens sometimes is the product management say, okay, we cannot accept this feature because this feature contains this many user story and you could not complete everything inside this particular, let's say API. Okay, so we are not going to accept it. That means it is either 100% or it is 0 actually.
Yeah.
So where do you see that value coming in actually? For example, if the business value is 10, and how they're going to estimate like, okay, now you did not deliver 10, you delivered 8 or 7 or 6.
So
basically.
again, one of the simplest example on the SAFE website was we wanted to improve the indexing performance by 50%, but we were able to do it only 30%. It is better than the previous, but may not be complete. That's where the business always might say, okay, this is 5 out of 10 because of not achieving the complete thing, right? Or that's where it becomes very important also to put the objectives in the SMART format, measurable format, right? So when you say it's the measurable format also. You want to put it in a measurable format also, not just as a like it should be specific at the same time measurable also. If you are able to measure, you can always put a number. And trust me, I mean, you would see the business values as something arbitrary numbers or subjective numbers. The objectivity comes in when the business and the team both are accountable for those numbers. Again, most of us think that when the business value is given, it kind of talks about what the team delivered or not delivered. For me, it is something different. For me, when the business owner comes and gives 8 out of 10, that means that team and the business together could not do everything, right? Because that's where the program execution comes in. It's not just about the teams not delivering. It's also about the business didn't sort out things on time for the teams to take it forward, maybe, right? So I would see the business value, the actual value assigned as a positive or a negative thing for business as well, not just for teams.
So we have seen that, as you gave the right example actually here, whenever the product management is coming and setting up some of the objective for non-functional requirement, as you said, okay, we want to increase the performance by 50%, and okay, now we are not on par of 50%. Maybe you made it like 40%, 30% actually. But the main question what arises here is, for example, even if it is the business value or the actual value, the formula remains same, right? The WSGF basically, right? So, for example, if it comes to the actual value, the formula remains same. We have the the cost of delay divided by the job size, basically, right? So
that's the prioritization part. My suggestion is another one. Don't make the actual value assignment as a year-end appraisal, right? Don't put the values at the last moment. This is where my push always is as a consultant. I mean, as a consultant, I can push, right? I mean, as an agile coach, you will only say pull, right? As a consultant, I can push. My push always is the system demos every 2 weeks. Business owners have to participate and they have to give the feedback. Maybe, I mean, if you are doing a piece of work, you have done some part of it, right? So they have to give a feedback then and there itself, saying that if you continue doing like this, I might give you 0 out of 10 for this business, I mean, objective, because of these reasons. They have to make it very transparent from the beginning so that finally, when you actually get the value, right? Finally, when you actually get the value, it is not a surprise for you at that point in time. You have already discussed about it. And say, if you get 0 out of 5, business and the team both are okay because they've already discussed, I mean, what is possible, what is not possible, and what were accepted as risks, maybe. Make it as again, like we say, appraisal has to be a continuous conversation. I mean, why not the business value also is a continuous conversation? While you might get the final number at that point in time, I look at it as what is my percentage hike, I will know later, but whether I am in the top 10, top 20 or whatever it is, right? So I know upfront, right? Not a bad thing, right? So, but at the same time, make sure that you are aware of it.
Yeah,
Ashwini, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Ashwini, Amit here.
So, okay.
Okay.
Sorry,
Amit here. Okay. I have one clarification on the business value. What is your experience if there are multiple business stakeholders on a product, and how to derive that one particular number, which is a magic number? Okay.
That's where the RT's role as a facilitator should come in to make sure that they all agree to an extent. I mean, see, and I don't want to debate 5 versus 6 versus 7, right? Rather, I mean, if it is 10 or 1, I'm interested to know that one, right? And they have to put a business case, so to say, right? A small business case. I mean, is it from a compliance perspective, it is important? Is it from a technology perspective, why it is important? Or is it from a product or a ROI perspective, why it is important?
And another cool follow-up thing is when we are giving to an executive management, this whole the outcome of the business value, they will not understand 1, 2, or 5, or 6, or so. How can we derive the actual value of the PI outcome?
Sorry, I mean, if you can repeat your, yeah.
Okay. See, one is the predictability. When we talk about the actuals, we always give 8 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. This is the actual which you also put it on. This is the actual. But when you are going to the executive management, the leadership, they will not really understand this 8 or 9. They will be really looking on the actual value. What is the actual value? So how can we really give the actual value to the leadership and deriving the actual value from the business?
See, mostly, I mean, if you ask the leadership also, do you want the predictability or do you want more to be accomplished? They would always go for predictability rather than anything else. Because again, SAFE also talks about, say, 80 to 100% predictability, right? Again, I'm in that predictable range. If I commit to 10 things, maybe I'll reliably deliver 8, 9, or 10 things, right? That's what we want to expect. And also, always numbers are misleading. Many a times, I mean, some team might deliver, say, 50%, but maybe they would have helped other teams to deliver more. That's why, I mean, their numbers have, I think, got hit, right? That's also a possibility, right? Don't look at, that's why, I mean, SAFE also suggests not to look at the numbers at a team level, but rather average it out and look at the train level. That's where this part also comes in, program execution, right? So we want the program execution to happen when we go out of the room, right? So we are talking about the risk. We are kind of looking at our confidence. Again, do a retrospective and try to work together. That's where the program execution comes. Okay. And I think there was also a question on confidence vote. If it's a learning that all have low confidence of the PA planning, what is recommended? What do you recommend in Scrum? Cancel the PI, do it again, right? So that means that your preparation is not done well. You have wasted 100 members' time, right? So it should not have happened at all, right? If this happens, there is a fundamental basic problem that you are running into. You should have kind of looked at that one on day one itself when the teams are breaking out. And if there is not a reliable plan, you need to have something ready. And few of the organizations that I know, in the first PI, typically what they do is, I mean, while PI planning is a 2-day agenda, they have a 3rd day kept aside. Right? I mean, typically, if you look at the SAFE's calendar, also Wednesday, Thursday is PA planning. Friday is kept aside for like final verification if needed, or I mean, tooling aspects, or so on and so forth. Right? So have that as a backup, but backups are not always a good plan. Right? Idea is to prepare well, come here, and if you are getting a low confidence vote here, the 2 days people have not worked together or not heard each other well, right? So that's what I would say.
So Ashwini, one thing also you mentioned about this system demo, right? I think to get very proactive feedback from the stakeholders, right? So on the SAFE, the official portal also Scale Agile, we have seen that okay, the system demo might not fall on the last day of the sprint itself, because the system team or the the people who are responsible for integrating the entire solution together, right? It might take some time also. There could be latency as well. So sometimes what happens, it's pretty difficult at the at the program level. Sometimes if you go to the large solution level, it even more difficult it is actually, right? So they are saying that okay, now in a particular PI, probably we might go for the system demo, solution demo. Let's say twice in a PI actually, right? So there it's again we are not getting the faster feedback loop actually, right? So so how to get that I mean what do you suggest actually here? Even though we are not getting into the system demo on a cadence-based, timeline, should we, invite our, stakeholders in between also, and maybe, sprint review is one thing which is happening for the team, every, at the end of the sprint. But should we also invite those stakeholders? Okay, now please, guys, come and see what exactly you have delivered actually here. Maybe we could set up a kind of integration environment here. And
in fact, if you ask me, right, the demos or the events that you have are the formal ones. Informally, nobody stops you from having those demos as and when it is required, right? So nobody stops you from having it, and we would always kind of ask you to actually do it. Actually do it in the sense, have as many informal demos as possible.
Yes.
Have that conversation continuously with the stakeholders, right? So
thanks.
And like I said, right, don't make it as an annual performance appraisal where you suddenly come and give some number and stuff. And for the thing that you talked about earlier on the demos getting later, right? I think that's one line that I don't like in the safe slides, that it might lag as much as a sprint or an iteration. Unless you are good on DevOps and technical practices, you are not going to push or get anything from the market. That's the truth.
Exactly.
That's the truth.
Exactly.
So maybe one PI you can run without having much of a technical expertise because you are starting up. The moment you keep on adding, say maybe first time you will add 10 features, next time it becomes 8 because you have too much of manual, then it becomes 6, then it becomes 5, then it becomes like 0, right? Over a period of time. You will be working only on the regression, not on the new things.
Exactly. But again, Ashwini, for example, if you take the software industry, right, I think we can think about, okay, we have an automation pipeline in place, and maybe we have a fatty thing, at the program level when everything is getting in through the pipeline, and it's making it ready at the end of the sprint basically, and which is also making it ready for the system demo from the integration environment. But let's say talk about where we have a lot of device centric, or let's say things we are delivering. Let's say, for example, take the example of hardware agility, right? So which is more like hardware centric, where integrating everything into the system is not always possible, basically. So that's a different job.
So that's where the solution demo, when you have at that level, right? So suggestion is at least once in a PI you do the demo. But I think I've also worked with Freescale. We used to use simulators and emulators throughout. Is it really customer tested? May not be, but is it going to be customer tested like 80%? Maybe yes. But I'll go ahead with that thought process.
Okay.
Ashwini, can you share your experience on the benefit hypothesis and how the actual thing, how this testing of benefit hypothesis is taken, and how the feedback gets into the PI plan?
See, benefit hypothesis is for a feature, right? So that's the hunch at that point in time. When I write a new feature, I say, or I kind of guess this is the benefit that I'm going to get because of this feature, right? So this is where the lean startup cycle comes in picture for you. The moment you have a benefit hypothesis, you will always try to start measuring how can I start again, or how can I start the measurement of the benefit itself. That's where the benefit hypothesis helps you.
Right? So have you seen the testing, how the testing is done after the actuals?
See, you typically don't do the testing for the benefit hypothesis, but for the acceptance.
Usually do the actual.
It's like we know that we are including a single sign-on because people have to log into multiple applications at different IDs. Now I'm going to give a single sign-on so that it becomes easy for them. All we know is it will become easy for them. Is it really going to be easy for them? Sees as a benefit, and it's a guess or a hypothesis at that point in time.
So the actual business value will also can be correlated when the actual
it will be
testing.
correlated. It will
Yeah,
be correlated because I mean,
otherwise it's a more the value, which is the actual number which we are giving at the end, like 8. It is more subjective in nature until unless we are testing the hypothesis, as you rightly told, whether it is giving single sign-on is giving a end user experience. Yeah. If you are testing that hypothesis,
I
then
think
only
that's where, I mean, you would look at the numbers, right? I mean, maybe out of the 100 people that you have on your system, 50 have moved to the single sign-on platform or single sign-on way of working. That means that, I mean, more and more people are actually embracing that change.
So what is the frequency like from the production release? Is there any guidelines where you prescribe as a consultant that it will be 1 month, 2
Not
months,
really
or
a
1
guideline.
week?
I mean, for me, it has to be continuous. Yes, right.
Okay.
Measurement has to be continuous. Yes, we are over time. I put my LinkedIn address and the Agilemania's LinkedIn page on the chat window. You can always connect to me. We can, I think, I mean, we also have a few more questions, I mean, which are unanswered. We will try to address them through blogs, more webinars, and also maybe some more ways to, right? We will try to do that one over a period of time.